Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of our Breaking Borders series. My name is Vivian, I'm an international growth consultant here at Google, and today I'll give you a little introduction into our biggest EU market, into Germany. You might have heard a lot of things about Germany, you might know a lot of the typical stereotypes. We'll go through them a bit, but we'll also have a few more market insights and of course look into a few of the consumer behaviors that you should have in mind when entering the German market. Yeah, as I already started about, you might know those stereotypes. As Germans, we love our cars, we love to drink beer and all that stuff. But what does come about with this? Did you, for example, know that by loving our cars, Germany is also the number one market globally in terms of car audio amplifiers? That might be a great market to enter if you're by any chance a supplier of that. Or Germany is in many senses with our rather traditional values on many sides, more on the conservative side in many aspects, but did that come about to make us really the number one market globally as well for antique rugs and lamps? There were quite a few things that came unexpectedly for me as well, which shows you Germany is not always what you expect it to be. But also if you don't happen to sell antique rugs and lamps, Germany might be a great market for you to enter simply by the fact that we have an amazingly big economy. We're, as I said, the biggest country in the EU in terms of population, 83 million people at the moment, and a GDP of almost 4 trillion makes us the fourth biggest economy in the world. This obviously is also reflected in the end in the digital world, with 84% of our population being online. We have roughly 70 million internet users, which are, on the other hand, oftentimes shopping there, looking for new products, so it is a great market to tap into, and that's where we'll have a little bit of a deeper look into. Yeah, as I said, this is also a big market for online retailers, and especially now that we're talking about cross-border sales. We have 38.7 million currently people in Germany that are shopping cross-border online, which is by far the highest of sheer numbers of buyers in the EU or in Europe overall, which means a lot of our shoppers that we have in Germany are not only focused on our own market, but are really open to international trade, are open to imports from other countries, are very curious about what they can get from other markets. And this number hasn't always been like this. We had a very steep increase over the last years. When we look at the graph from the timeline from 2011 until now, this number almost doubled, which means from, if I interpret this right, from about 17% of cross-border buyer penetration, we're now at almost 34%. So this is a great increase, and the line seems to be continuing like that. As I said, it seems to be continuing, and also when we go a little bit deeper into the topic. Now we have the graph showing you the data from, again, we're in 2017, and give a little bit of an outlook until 2023. This is data from Statista, who calculated how might the German e-commerce revenue develop further. And you can see we have a great growth ahead of us, and this goes across many categories, especially when you have a look at the electronics and media segment, which grows quite significantly. Also fashion will play a big role, and also furniture and appliances might be something that is very interesting for you. But all the categories throughout are expected to grow into several billion dollar businesses up to 2023. So if we have a bit of a closer look into what the market shows us, how should we tackle the market? How should we go into Germany? As we said at the beginning, as a little introduction, in many terms, Germany is on the rather traditional side. That is something you, for example, have to keep in mind when choosing the payment options when opening an online shop in Germany. After credit card payments, which are still even more on the rise in Germany, direct direct bank transfers remain one of the most popular payment methods in Germany, which might be rather surprising and unusual for other European markets, but we have a really big share in this term, and you always run the risk of losing customers if you don't offer those payment methods on the site. Also, e-wallet, especially like PayPal, is something that many Germans use, so just have a look at that. And I would say like credit card, bank transfer and e-wallet options are the ones you should definitely go for in order to avoid losing your customers at the last step of the journey. Also, it comes a bit back to probably, actually the demographics of the German population. Like with a medium age of 46.8 years, we're definitely one of the kind of oldest populations globally. I think Japan is the only one that is a bit older than us. So this is something you obviously have to have in mind, both for targeting, for many things like the payment options. It does influence a lot of our shopping behavior, which we will have a closer look into later on, but just having this in mind, it does affect it, but also with this comes oftentimes a greater purchasing power that is distributed by age. But nevertheless, of our age, we love to party, and we have several events throughout the year in Germany that you should have a look out for. I just put the ones that might be a bit more significant for you here on this slide. When we start like on the upper left corner, where we more or less about now, a little bit later now, our kids just went back to school, which is like, I think, a global thing to have in mind. It does differ in Germany throughout the different regions. So each region or each Bundesland has their own timing on when they go back to school. So it is something to keep in mind if you're in that business where this is a relevant kind of event for you. You can't just run a campaign throughout Germany, since all regions like the south of Germany will go back to school much later than the north of Germany. So this is something very regional specific. Also very regional specific, what is happening right now at the time of recording of this video is the Oktoberfest. Obviously a very big thing in the south of Germany, so you won't come around of getting somehow involved in that when you work with the German market, or especially the southern German market. And it might be a great opportunity to tap in with some little gifts and gadgets, whatever you might be selling, or running campaigns themed around that. Also, Halloween is something that more and more gets into Germany as well, especially when it comes to like putting on costumes, the whole pumpkin theme. So also this might be something very interesting and still quite new and uprising in Germany. Obviously, after we pass like Halloween, we come into the Christmas season, which is a massive big thing in Germany and for all Germans. You can see in the little picture one of like the kind of special things we tend to run is like our Christmas markets. So through all the season of December, we have Christmas markets all around in Germany, which are like opportunities for stores to sell like little gift items there. A lot of obviously the food businesses around there, and it just creates this Christmas atmosphere, which is really long before the 24th of December, which is for us Christmas Eve and the important day where you get like the gifts and gifts, which is like the most important day. Then New Year's is celebrated very heavily all over the country, most of the times with a lot of fireworks. And the next day is off, as in most countries. What might be very interesting as well is what comes in February. We have actually a very strong carnival culture, especially in the Rhine region, like around Cologne and Düsseldorf, but also in the south of Germany. There's quite a strong traditional carnival season, so you might see a lot of people being on vacation throughout February, putting on like their red clown noses and being out of the office. But also, like, obviously, if you're selling costumes, if you're in any way related to party equipment, this might be something that is very, very interesting. And obviously what comes with it as well is like a certain vacation period. So also for travel businesses, this is a very, very important time of the year. Then we have Valentine's Day, which is still also rising, kind of a lot of more global festive seasons like Halloween, Valentine's Day is something that is still on the growth in Germany. Then Mother's Day for next year would be on the 22nd of March, since it varies throughout countries. And Easter is something that is always a very important holiday for Germans as well. We tend to paint a lot of eggs. We put up little eggs on the tree, so it's a very colorful festival and kind of the beginning of spring for many people as well. But now we talked a lot about where are we celebrating, what are we doing, but obviously it does relate to retail a lot as well. And one day that I didn't put up on the calendar per se, since it is not like a festival or an event, is obviously Black Friday. I already said, like, a lot of those things that are kind of global phenomena are sometimes a little bit late when coming to Germany, but nevertheless this gives them an even greater push in the last years. And we have the highest demand for Black Friday across Europe now. This is the index query volume for Black Friday in 2018, so from last year. And over the years we saw in comparison to 2017, a 65% increase year over year, on top of like being already like the highest demand. So we expect to be a massive push this year as well. So keep that in mind, be prepared for it in Germany. There's still a lot of headroom there to get. And if we have a look at the categories as well, you see the categories are growing rapidly. The most is like definitely in the computers, consumer electronics business. So just pause here for a second if you find yourself in one of those categories or one of your customers. Have a look at that and keep that in mind. So this is a bit like when we can reach our consumers, what can we do with them, what can we best sell to them or transmit to them, but where can we best reach them, like where are they looking for stuff, how are they thinking in the end. So we'll have a little look about how do Germans actually buy. Consumers are shopping online and offline and are in multiple stages of their purchasing journey at any given time. Like around 3/4 of all people shopped or browsed in the past week, like, which is basically a lot of people who are in the steady process of buying something. We're here, as you can see on the right, like at the different stages. There is some thinking going on, like about half of the shoppers are like still in the thinking phase, but especially when it comes further down the funnel, like we have quite a lot in researching and also in buying, but it is especially like the lower part of the funnel that is actually very heavy here. So people actually do buy stuff. They are not only informing themselves, they don't have a exceptionally long thinking phase, but they are really there to get the stuff done. They inform themselves and then they get the purchase done. And this doesn't only happen across like 1 or 2 categories. Like on average, German shoppers have 5.1 categories they are shopping for at this very moment. So it could be they are looking for new shoes, for a new desk for their office, for, I don't know, food and groceries, and a new makeup all at the same time. So there's a lot on their mind. And so you can see that across all those categories, people are currently shopping for. Like even if we look at toys, which might be something that is more of like a kind of a peak event for like Christmas and birthdays, there's still like 1/5 of shoppers that are thinking about buying toys. So it does really go across all the categories, and this is something really important to know, that all the time it might be on your potential client's mind. So just be there when it is important. Nevertheless, we say, okay, it is important to be there when they are looking for it. We are having, at the moment, according to our study that we run in spring this year, 3.6 digital touch points used when shopping, browsing or buying, which is actually quite significantly lower than the global average. It is already quite a lot, like it is 3.6. It's not like you only have one and buy it immediately, but still it is less than you would see in probably your home market. So it is really important to actually be there at that time. Like use those 3.6 online touch points that you have and really make them count. You see, it's 2.1 offline touch points that most people used over the last week, which is also something that is there, but we have that is like 2.1 out of 6 possible touch points. In retail, in the online business, it's even less. And since we have a quite even split between online and offline still, it is really relevant to use those online touch points and to be there if you're offline, to be there in the right moments and connect that accordingly. Like online to offline measurement, all the multi-channel sales is a really big part in Germany. Like there is a lot of transition from online to offline and the other way around. So this might be something if you're also present in offline stores, if you're planning to do that, it will be very important to connect it. Otherwise, for pure online players, obviously use those online touch points that you're given. So how do users in Germany use Google for their shopping? It is actually that a lot of shoppers use Google to research a purchase they plan to make in store or online. So the whole research topic of the buying cycle, of the buying journey, it does start with Google. It's 63% of people said that for them it's really important to use Google to kind of make a first initial impression of a product and research what there might be available. And 33% of shoppers say that they use Google before buying something new all the time. So this is kind of the data we have here. If we look at that on a little bit more detail, you see it is the research in store or online purchase that is important, but also it is to kind of finding a new brand, finding new items or products. It is always for getting helpful recommendations, obviously, but what especially stands out in comparison to other markets is that Germans use Google a lot to find the best option for their needs. Like usually Germans have very clear metrics in mind, what they expect from a product or service to fulfill their needs, and Google is a great go-to point for checking whether those needs are matched by the product. So, one other obviously very important topic, which you will know from your market if you've been in online marketing a while, this might be top of mind for you all the time. It's the whole mobile topic. In-store mobile use, like how much do shoppers use smartphones when they shop or research in the last week, and how much do people actually buy on mobile at the moment. And you see in both cases, like we're at around 1/4, around 1/3 for online mobile purchase. And you see in both cases like the little red number below, which indicates that this is a significantly lower number than we see globally. And this is really something we're seeing in the German market. Like we're still seeing massive growth in mobile, but still we haven't caught up, not nearly with the global average. So at the moment, mobile is still upcoming and rising, but don't expect to have the same results on mobile just as you might have at the moment in, I don't know, the UK, let's say. Also, when we look at brands, like how brand focused are Germans overall, they are significantly less brand focused than in other countries. So buying familiar brands might be important for people. This is like what 28% of buyers say, but still this is much less than in other countries. Also looking for new brands or looking for new retailers and new stores. It seems like Germans are very, little curious here. They seem to stick rather with their old brands, but still they are not too important for them. So it is really hard to create a real like customer loyalty and to make people really stick with your brand and get like this excitement for your brand. And so what we learned is that German users are less demanding, they're a bit less research focused, and they definitely have lower retail expectations overall when it comes to buying online. So what we should do here is really focus on what is important to Germans and where can we actually win their hearts. So it is like the top factors that influence a retailer choice for Germans is easy returns. So I think in the last year the return rate is at about 12% in Germany, so quite significantly. The shipping overall is very important. Germans expect free shipping. And also the product selection and variety is very important. As I said, like usually shoppers have a quite clear picture of a product in mind and they want to find that exact one. So it needs to have a certain selection and variety, and the information about that variety needs to be present. So given all that it is quite hard to really engage Germans over a lot of touch points. We really have to use the few points that we have to convince people to buy from us, and then it is about us to actually delight the customers with their experience they're having with us, show the right variety, give the right information, and then make your operations absolutely seamless and perfect, because like coming back to the stereotypes, efficiency is the key to a German's heart, and I wish you all the best of luck with entering the German market. I'm sure you will see a lot of things that you didn't expect, but you're tapping into a market with a massive volume, with a massive opportunity for you and your customers. And it will be a great journey, I'm sure of that. And I'm very excited to see your new products entering the German market. And with that, I leave you to it. Vielen Dank for listening, and we see you to our next episode. Thanks.